All right, this is Off the 11th Hour. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Nathaniel Stone, but we all know who the Lord of Hosts is. Say it with me in any dialect you so choose. Yahuwah Tsabaoth. Wow, we have such a special presentation today. It's part 2. Did anyone tune into part 1? Got a little bit dicey there for a little bit. Maybe triggered a few people that in the last teaching, especially at the very end there. I please encourage that you do your own research on that, and that you didn't, reject this information just because of that. Maybe if you agree or disagree. Well, I want to get right into the information here of what we have. Man, so excited! I'm so excited to get this information out. Let's do a recap. Let's do a recap of where we're at. Let me kind of clear this out here. We'll do a recap of where we're at. Remember what we're talking about. The topic is the mark of the beast, 100% scriptural proof of spiritual implications. Now, before we get going, I want to get going pretty quick here. Before we get going, I'm just going to give that disclaimer, the same one I gave last week. I'm trying to communicate with people that are that have a large. I'm trying to hit a full spectrum of individuals on education levels in the scriptures. So whether those that are a little less educated, those that are more, those that only know English terminology, those that know Hebrew terminology, different members in the body. We are all as drops of water in a unified body of water of Messiah, the body of Messiah, and we all need to be purified, myself included. We all need to be purified. Iron sharpens iron. That's what we're here for. That's what you're here for. We're going to get sharpened on a particular topic, one that's been abused by the enemy, and getting us to focus on things that we shouldn't be focusing on. So what I'd like to talk about is when I say a term in English, say Jesus, I'll give its appropriated Hebrew terminology that I'm familiar with, Yahusha. Some people say Yeshua, Yahusha. If we can just, be adults with dialect stuff and just understand that we're talking about the only begotten Son of Elohim, the only begotten Son of God who died for our sins. The other thing that I'd like to share is I use ISR, Institute for Scriptural Research. It's a great translation. It's a little bit difficult to read in some aspects because they pulled out, I don't know if you know this, English has a lot of pagan gods incorporated in terms. Like the word cereal is after Ceres, the fertility goddess. The word air is Eros, after a Greek god Eros, right? There's just so much. Even the word Bible, Biblia, right? It's a Roman goddess. There's so much incorporated in our English language that has been corrupted. Faith, grace, they're daughters of Zeus. Is that what we're talking about when we say faith and hope is also in grace? No, we can get too hung up. Some brothers that know this information, sisters that know this information, they go too much. And I agree though. I understand it, but anyways, ISR removed to the best of their ability all this pagan terminology out of the scriptures, and then they also did their best with the dialect that they so chose to restore original pronunciations of names. So instead of Jacob, it's Jacob. And so on and so forth. So I use ISR. I like the translation, but I encourage you, everyone, to follow along in the scripture translation that you feel comfortable with. All scriptures are gold, all right? NIV, King James, ISR, the Complete Jewish Bible, the Tree of Life. Just as long as we understand that those are lesser quality karat gold, maybe 18 karat gold, maybe 14 karat gold, maybe 10 karat gold. 24 karat gold is the original inspired writing itself in the language it was in. And Hebrew, such a complex language, but simple also. But one letter can make a paragraph. One word can make pages, and one verse can make a 2-hour presentation. Beautiful stuff, and you can't get that when you translate it. You translate that into English and it's lost. I mean, you can go back and get it because we got, source documents that we're using. But this is where it goes deeper on. So what I'm just trying to say, please follow along in any scripture translation that you so choose. I believe that multiple verses gives us perspective on matters. And again, as long as you understand that, I let's just say a verse in the ISR, I might like that verse, and in the King James, I think they might have made a bad or a lesser quality translation in that particular verse. Might have made an error somewhere. Conversely, ISR might have a certain verse translated a different way, and now the King James is strong on that verse where the ISR is weak. It's like that sometimes. So there might be certain translations that we come across, and I might not agree with a particular scripture translation's verse. But we can get in, and then we go into source documents. So let's just understand, follow along in any translation you so choose, and let's go ahead and move forward with this information here. Okay, so we'll do a quick recap here of where we're at. We'll do a quick recap. We left off in here. Now, if you remember where we were at, what we covered is we covered that the mark of the beast has positive and negative characteristics from Revelation 20 verse 4, the positive, and Revelation 14:9, the negative. And it's in the same order. Those who did and those who did not. And you have the beast, the image, the forehead, the hand, the beast, the image, the forehead, the hand. Those who did worship and those who did not worship, right? We all want to be Revelation 20 verse 4, those who did not worship. But the thing is that, what exactly does that entail? Let's get into the depth of what that is. The other thing that we covered was the first and greatest command. And the first and greatest command, according to Mark chapter 12, verse 30, it says to love Yahuwah your Elohim, the Lord your God, with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. With all your leb, your nefesh, your yatzar, and your ma'ad. And then we looked at why the Shema, not this one, why the Shema in Deuteronomy 6:4 and on, verse 5 particularly, it has heart, soul, and might, a leb, nefesh, and ma'ad. So why is yatzar? Why is mind missing? And then we covered more to make things a little even more, I wouldn't say complicated, but to add some more complication into the mix, is in Matthew 22:36-38, we see heart, soul, mind. And then in Luke 10:25-28, we see heart, soul, strength, mind. So we have three Gospels, 3 Basora Halmakuth, Good News of the Kingdom accounts, and then we have 1 Torah foundation, the Shema, Deuteronomy 6:5. And so in Deuteronomy, we have heart, soul, strength, or might. I'm just going to use the word strength. Heart, soul, strength. In Matthew, we have heart, soul, mind. In Luke, we have heart, soul, strength, mind. In Mark, we have heart, soul, mind, strength. So, which is it, right? Well, using the Shema, we understood that, well, actually, that's kind of where we left off, huh? With that, yes. And so in using the Shema, that's, we're trying to figure out exactly why that is. So let's go ahead and go. Oh, yeah. And the other thing that we were talking about is people hyper-literalizing the sign on hands and frontlets between eyes. And then picking and choosing which things of the Shema to hyper-literalize. Well, they didn't hyper-literalize some things, but then they did hyper-literalize other, right? They're not actually impressing a book upon their children, but they're literally wrapping a leather strap around their hand, even though it doesn't say leather. And they're literally putting a black cuboidal box around on their forehead and their arm, even though it doesn't say black cuboidal box, which is not at all what the message says. The message is about taking your actions of your hands and to have these words, Deuteronomy 6:6, that are commanded today, to be wrapped around your hand as always for your works, for the sign of your hand. The works of your hand are always to be wrapped in the word that of our commands. The commands, the word that we're commanded here today. And the frontlets between the eyes is that these words, these commands, are always supposed to be on our forehead, on our mind, the forefront of our mind, the front of our mind, and permeating into the back. That's what the teaching is. People are hyper-literalizing and making a mockery, if you remember last week's teaching, of some holy handkerchief, that clip that we used. They're making a mockery of what the scriptures are saying and detracting from what the teaching is saying. And it says that these words that I'm commanding you today shall be in your heart. Well, they're not actually putting them in their heart, open heart surgery, but they're literally binding them around their hand. But that's kind of where we left off. It's kind of making a mockery of things to super hyper spiritualize some and not others, and is detracting away from what the real message is saying. So let's get into this. Matthew 12, 33 through 34, either make the tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree rotten and its fruit rotten. For a tree is known by its fruit. Brood of adders, how are you able to speak what is good, being wicked? For the mouth speaks from the overflow of the heart. Well, let's look real quick in Psalms chapter 1:1. In Psalms 1:1 it says, well, let's, I can do this here. Just give me a moment here. We'll go over here to Psalms 1:1. Sorry, I kind of ad-libbed here. I should have had this preloaded, but I didn't quite realize and go there. Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, is in the law of the Lord, and he meditates in his Torah, his law, day and night. For he shall be as a tree planted, here it is, as a tree planted by the rivers of water that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind blows away. All right. So when we look at either make the tree good and its fruit good, well, what's the tree? It's the person that is meditating in the law of Yahuwah, the law of the Lord, the Torah, and it yields fruit in season. Fruit are works. So here in Matthew 12, 33 through 34, either make the tree good. He's saying make the man good, the person, the woman, the individual good, and its fruit good. And he says next in Matthew, not next, but in Matthew now 7:16 through 20, by their fruits you shall know them, by their works you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. By their works you shall know them. It says that a good tree or a good man yields good works. A good tree yields good fruit. A good man yields good works. But a rotten tree, a rotten man, yields wicked works, yields wicked fruit. So, in every tree, every man that does not bear good fruit, good works, is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then by their works, by their fruits, you shall know them. Well, what does it say? In Revelation chapter 22, verse 12, I'll just ad lib here. See, I am coming speedily, and my reward is with me to give each according to his work. The previous verse 11 says, he who does wrong, let him do more wrong. He who is filthy, let him be more filthy. He who is righteous, let him be more righteous. He who is holy, set apart, kadosh, let him be more kadosh. And then he gives everyone according to their works. We are judged by our works. It is not our works that save us, though. That's the whole premise of Acts chapter 15. Another teaching. We'll do this in another teaching. Let's move forward. James 2:24. You see then that a man is declared right by works and not by amunah, by faith alone. Fruits are works, are they not? Fruits are our actions, are they not? Works represent the might and strength of our hands, do they not? Therefore, loving Yahuwah with all your might, the Lord with all your might, with all your strength, with all your works, with all your fruits, is implied that proper amunah, faith, is represented first inside our minds, and our actions flow from the abundance from within, whether good or bad. So out of the, wait, is this the next slide? Right. We know that out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth does speak. You can't have someone doing righteous works with a wicked mind. And you can't have someone with a righteous mind doing wicked works. We are getting purified and refined. So, where is this at? It's in Proverbs. 7 times a righteous man stumbles and rises, but the wrong falls and rises. 7 times a righteous man falls and rises, but the wrong one stumbles into evil. That's a very weighty verse there. So if anyone has stumbled, like King David, stumbled pretty hard, committed adultery, got her pregnant, had her husband killed, and had other people conspiring, so he got them mixed up in his mess. Pretty big mess. King David did. Okay, anyone who stumbled in the past, you've had issues, even in your refined walk in faith, your Torah walk that you're there. You stumbled. It's okay. Rise. Fall and rise. Get back on that path and keep going. The wrong one will stay there and won't move, and they'll stay stagnant just because of one stumbling. Right? The righteous man will get up and continue towards Elohim, towards God. So, man, I wish I don't know where that's at. That's fine. I'll try to get that later on, where that's at in Proverbs. So let's get back on point here. You can't have someone that is wicked doing something good and someone that is good doing something wicked in a general sense. You can have mistakes that are there, but in a general sense, what he's saying through the refinement process is that by their fruits you shall know them. And what is a fruit? Also, repentance. Someone made a mistake and repenting for it. That's not just words. That's also actions. That's fruits. That's righteousness. Repentance is righteousness. Is a righteous act to repent. That's a sign that the Ruach is moving in an individual to admit that they're wrong. The first step of correcting a problem is acknowledging that the problem exists. It's a huge first step. So Matthew 22:36-38, teacher, which is the great command in the Torah? And Yahushua, Jesus, said to him, you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim, the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great command. Wow, first and great command. King of Kings tells us something's the first and great command. We should pay attention to that. But here we only see heart, soul, and mind. But as we already covered, the heart, soul, and mind, that our works are reflected. You can't be like, oh, I have faith in Jesus, and then not have works. That's what the previous one here in James 2:24 says. Not by faith alone, works also. So Luke 10:25-28, see a certain one learned in the Torah, learned in the law, right? Educated individual, stood up, trying him and saying, teacher, what shall I do to inherit everlasting life? Pay attention. And he said to him, what has been written in the Torah, the law? How do you read it? And he said, you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim, the Lord your God, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, you have answered rightly, do this and you shall live. We didn't cover, but in Mark chapter 12:31, he also said to love your neighbor as yourself, and this is the second command. So the first and second, greater and lesser greater, but the two greatest commandments, the greater and the lesser greater commandments, are to love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And as we covered last week, those two commandments overlay over the 10 commandments. The four characteristics of the first and greatest commandment, heart, soul, mind, strength, overlays over the, and we're going to get into that in a minute. So here though, we have in Deuteronomy, heart, soul, might, or heart, soul, strength. Luke, heart, soul, strength, mind. Matthew, heart, soul, mind. Mark, heart, soul, mind, strength. And it's all of them. Is what it is, and so we're using the order of the of Mark, the numbered order of Mark. We have heart, soul, mind, strength. So in summary, the Hebraic mindset of Deuteronomy 6:5, as well as the Greek mindset of Mark, Luke, and Matthew, are in Achad. They're one. So heart, soul, and might implies heart, soul, mind, strength, or heart, soul, mind, might. So now let's check out the first four of the 10 commandments. I summarized them here. You can look at them in fullness. Exodus 20, 3 through 11, and Deuteronomy 5. I don't have the verses located, but it's in Deuteronomy 5. They're mirror chapters there. So he says, opening up, I am Yahuwah your Elohim. I am the Lord your God. He gets into the character for a reason, right? I am the Lord, or I am Yahuwah. You see the Hebraic you see the Hebraic lettering here. I am Yahuwah. That's where they translate it as the Lord. That appears over, well, if you add in New Testament quotes, over 7,000 times. His name appears, that they replaced it with title, Hashem, Adonai, Lord, right? They replaced his name with title replacements. Anyways, but they also replaced his character and his authority with character replacements and authority replacements. But we can get into that in the second commandment aspects, characteristics. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. I am the Lord your God who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim, no other gods before me. That is the first commandment. No false god worship. Second commandment, you shall not make to yourself any graven image and worship it or serve it. So no graven images, bow down and worship it. The third one, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your Elohim, the Lord your God, in vain. Man, I can't wait to teach this one. That's a really meaty third commandment. People don't understand the third commandment very well. Remember the Shabbat day, the Sabbath day, to keep it holy, keep it set apart. 6 days you labor and do all your work. So there's the first four commandments. Does anyone know the all 10 commandments? You know, a lot of guys out there, you can quote how many wins and losses a particular football team has, basketball team, sports team. You can quote all these stats and statistics. You can remember exactly where you're at in your binge watching of your Hollywood media entertainment that you're participating in. But can you do the 10 commandments in order? Can you? It shows where people's priorities are. Mine were askew too. I had we'll call it a vision. I saw, before I got called into this walk, I saw my life previous as a pie chart of how much time I had devoted on everything. Brushing my teeth, sleeping, eating. Entertainment was a huge section. Things focused on myself, a huge section. Very, very tiny, focused on the Father. Right? Is that seeking him with all our heart and all our soul? Are we focused? We'll get into that more. So now let's look at all four sets again. We have the positive here of the mark of the beast, the positive characteristics. Those who did not worship the beast, worship the image, did not have the mark on the forehead, did not have the mark on the hand. First and greatest commandment, to love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then we have the first four of 10 commandments. No false god worship, no graven images, bow down and worship it. Don't take his name in vain, Yahuwah's name in vain, the Lord's name in vain. And to zakar Shabbat, and to keep it kadosh, to remember the Sabbath and to keep it holy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the first aspect of the first list, in the first aspect of the second list and the first aspect of the third list, and we're going to put it all together. So check this out. If you did not worship the beast, you follow the first commandment, because you shall have no other Elohim before me. Therefore, you love Yahuwah, the Lord, with all your heart. So check that out. Check that coincidence out. Those who didn't worship the beast did what? Maybe there's a commandment. Should I worship the beast? Is there a commandment that tells us that we shouldn't be doing that? All right, the first commandment of the 10 commandments, it says we don't worship any false Elohim, only Yahuwah. This is important why we have his name there and not a title replacement. But, we can do that on a different teaching. So he says that we shall have no other Elohim, no false gods. Well, is the beast a false god? 2 Thessalonians 2, 3, and 4 say, let no one deceive you in any way. There's that deception again. If you remember the first, the intro, the first teaching I uploaded here, a warning about deception. Let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to happen first. And the man of lawlessness is to be revealed, the son of destruction. So the man of sin and the son of perdition, apologia in Greek, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, all that is called God, or that is worship, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God, right? Pretending that he is Elohim, but he's a false Elohim. This is where people get the beast, the antichrist of antichrists, that is claiming to actually be the Most High. And here he is, this beast who has a kingdom, jurisdiction, and authority, but also is himself an individual. And this individual says that he is the Most High and demands worship from everyone. And the people do worship. If you go further on in 2 Thessalonians 2, they believe the lie because they have no love of the truth. But not the set apart believers. Not those who don't have the beast mark. Why? Because they remembered the first commandment. What is the first commandment again? No false Elohim. Don't worship the beast. He says he's Elohim. Don't worship the beast. So if you didn't worship the beast, you remember the first commandment, so you love him with all your heart. You see how that, look at that. Look, the first list, didn't worship the beast. The second one, you love him with all your heart. And the third one, no false Elohim. And then how they all connect like that? Not a coincidence. Deuteronomy 4:29, from there you shall seek Yahuwah your Elohim, the Lord your God, and shall find when you search for him with all your heart and with all your soul. Not some of it, all of it. And then he guides you, puts you on a mission, helps you, refines you, disciplines you. He disciplines those who he loves. So let's check out the second one. So what we do again, I think you kind of got the pattern now, though. We're going to take the second aspect from the first list, the second aspect from the second list, and the third aspect from the second aspect from the third list. Let's do that again, huh? The second one from the first list, the second one from the second list, and the second one from the third list. There we go. Okay. If you didn't worship his image of the beast, you follow the second commandment. Check this coincidence out. You shall not make to yourself any graven image. Oh my goodness. So wait a second. So the first list says no false Elohim worship, no false God worship. And then people aren't worshiping this false God that is known as the beast. And now we have a second one, and people that follow the second commandment, not to make any graven image, bow down and worship it, also didn't worship the image of the beast, a graven image of the beast. Wow. Coincidence? I think not. Therefore, you love Yahuwah with all your soul. And there it is again, Deuteronomy 4:29. From there you shall seek Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall find when you search for him with all your heart and with all your soul. So the first two, very, very crucial. Let's check out the third one now. Again, the third, we'll do it again. Let's see if I can get it this time. I'm trying to do this one clip, right? No editing. The We're going to do the third aspect of the first list, the third aspect of the second list, and the third aspect of the third list. Nailed it. All right. If you did not receive his beast mark upon your forehead, you follow the third commandment, because you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your Elohim in vain. Therefore, you love Yahuwah with all your mind. Wow. Wow. Wait a second. Beast mark on the forehead. Where did we see that? The Shema, Deuteronomy 6:8. You're to have them wrapped as a sign around your hand, bound as a sign on your hand, bind them as a sign on your hand, and as frontlets between your eyes. And we covered that is your works and your thoughts, your hands, your works, your mind, your frontlets of your forehead, your thoughts. And now the third aspect of the mark of the beast is that they didn't have the beast mark on the forehead. And so they love him with all their mind, which is forehead. Coincidence. And so they did not take the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, in vain, the Lord your God in vain. Now we're going to get into this in the third characteristic breakdown. Very, very, very interesting. But if you see how the connection on this connection, it's amazing. Okay, not a coincidence. Again, more connections. The mind, the forehead. And not taking his name in vain, which is connected into the mind. And I'll show you when we break it down later on. Fourth one, if you did not receive his mark upon your hand, remember, frontlets on your eyes, bound as a sign on your hand. If you did not receive his mark upon your hand, you follow the fourth commandment, because Zakar Shabbat. Remember the Sabbath day. Zakar means mark, the Sabbath day. And to keep it set apart, a mark on the hand. Interesting. To keep it kadosh, set apart, holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Therefore you love Yahuwah with all your strength. Strengthen your hands. So you have mind and forehead, and now you have strength in hands. Goodness. How? There's no way all of that is coincidental. No way that it just fit together accidentally. So perfectly, it fits together. I'm amazed it's not common knowledge, but I know why. We're an enemy kingdom. This is something that I'd teach, or that we should teach, like a 6-year-old. Basic 1, 2, 3, 4. Salvational building block. And this is actually salvational. Worshiping a different God? Yeah, that's pretty salvational. Bowing down to a graven image, provoking his jealousy? Pretty salvational. Taking his name in vain? Pretty salvational. Going against his commandments, starting with the fourth commandment of the 10? Pretty salvational. It's a sign of his people. Exodus 31:16 and 17. The Sabbath is a sign of his people, is a mark of his people. Side note, in the when it says that that the mark on the hand, the Greek word G for Greek, Strong's number 1909, can mean on, upon, or also in, within. So both are accurate descriptions of the mark being on or in someone's hand or forehead. Remember, the external is always a reflection of the internal, but it's not necessarily visually seen. The mark of the beast is here. It's been here, not here in its fullness. We know in Mark 4, there's 30, 60, and 100-fold fulfillments. This also has to do with prophetic fulfillments, not just with harvesting fulfillments. The mark of the beast is here, but it's not here in its fullness. Okay. Let's get into the first command characteristic. When you pick and choose which instructions, laws, Torah, of Elohim, of God, the commandments of God, you want to follow, you have created a God, a false Elohim, for yourself to worship. And you've broken the first of the 10 commandments. And it trickles down from there, actually. That's like a big one. You've violated the first and greatest commandment, which we covered already. Deuteronomy 6:5, Mark 12:30. Not worshiping or having spiritual infidelity with other deities involves the obvious false gods. You can read these names here. Involves the obvious false Elohim. but it also involves not creating a GMSO, a genetically modified spiritual organism from the scriptures, and worshiping an alternate version of reality. That's what Babylon the Great does. That's what last episode's teaching, that Humma Kavula, that clip from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, praying to the Almighty in the sky to bring down the handkerchief so that we can blow our congested noses and be purified. That's sacrilegious stuff. That's a GMSO of a religion. So is all these other religions today. They take things, they turn it into stuff that it's not, right? They turn it into stuff that it's not. Create a halakha, a way of walking with it, and a detracting from truth, right? So we're so focused on no GMOs. Oh, I'm not going to have any genetically modified organisms. People that don't know what a GMO is, it's a genetically modified organism. Say you take an orange, and then from the orange, someone puts in the genetic splicing of a pig, and now the orange grows a thicker rind. True story, by the way. And now the orange throws a thicker rind so that bugs can't chew through it. But now, is that technically an orange? Or is that a genetically modified organism? It looks like an orange, tastes like an orange for the most part. But when you actually go down and look at it on the molecular level, it's not quite an orange. It's been modified. And now it has pig DNA in it. Florida Oranges, I believe, has done this. Do your research on that. One of those orange companies in Florida has put pig into all of their oranges so that they grow a thicker rind so that bugs don't eat through it. But we're so focused on non-GMOs, not eating genetically modified organisms, so focused on that, are we? But are we focused on not consuming GMSOs, genetically modified spiritual organisms? Oh, yeah. Well, this group of people here, they've been doing this for 2,000 years. So they got to be right. Nom, 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 nom. I'm going to eat all that stuff up. I'm going to eat all that knowledge up. Oh, they got to be right. People don't realize that ancients made mistakes too. And just because someone is doing something that's been done for 2,000 years, it just means that you're following an ancient mistake. Messiah came here to remove the dogma, the man-made trash that tried to nullify the word of God, the word of Elohim. And 2,000 years later, not only has that stuff not been cast away, it's been metastasized into even more blasphemous and idolatrous customs that are occult. So the first commandment, not worshiping another God, also means not worshiping an alternate reality of the Elohim, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So if you're like, I like this, and I like that, and I like those, I don't like this over here, what the scriptures say here, and I don't like that, and I don't like that, so I'm going to disfigure the face of Messiah. I'm going to cut off his nose. I'm going to change his look. I'm going to modify his face. And then that is the image of Jesus that I'm going to worship. And that's the Jesus that I worship. That's what Babylon the Great does. They have created and taken truth in the scriptures and modified it with all sorts of things that they've added and removed, and now worship that as though that is the truth. And when you back it up against the word, what the word says, it doesn't say that, and then they'll make excuses. Well, that's just the oral law, or that's just the way it's been done. You commoners wouldn't understand this. Right. Okay. All right. Well, the Ruach Kodesh teaches me too. And I think that we should be following what the word says. And if we see pagan customs that have been incorporated into what should be a set apart walk, well, we should cast that stuff out. Burn it. Toss it in the fire. Break it to pieces. So the first commandment isn't just worshiping a false Elohim, right? One of these. It's not just worshiping one of these, some Hinduism, some other false god system. It's also worshiping an alternate reality that doesn't exist, disfiguring the face. I'll read this real quick. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 2. For I am jealous for you with a jealousy according to Elohim, for I gave you in marriage to one husband to present you as an innocent maiden or a virgin to chaste virgin to Messiah, to Christ. And then he says in verse 4, for indeed, if he who is coming proclaims another Jesus or another Yahushua, who we have not proclaimed, right? A different characteristic, different character, even with the same name, pronunciated name. And if you receive a different ruach, a different spirit, which you have not received, or a different good news, or a different gospel, I believe is the word a different gospel, different good news, which you have not accepted, you put up with it well enough. You're saying, well, you shouldn't be putting up with it, basically. So here we see, even in the warning of 2 Corinthians 11:4, that there's going to be that even with the same name, a different person with the same name, but different character, a different spirit, even maybe with the same name, and a different gospel, good news message that's been altered, breaking the first commandment. It's deep. You shall seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart, Jeremiah 29:13, all of your heart. There are no excuses, especially in today's information age. How much time have you focused watching television, building your financial career? How much time have you focused on yourself? I'm talking to myself too, okay? Like I have to calibrate myself also. So I've removed the splinter from my eye, or this plank from my eye. I see splinters in other brothers and sisters' eye. It's the same thing, right? You have this in your eye, it's huge, but like in your perspective, it's small. But if I were to hold that close to you, it's big, but in my perspective, it's small. It's the same sin. So it's the same sin. And so I'm offering you correction, and also talking to myself too, that we need to focus more on him and less on this secular world and on ourselves. So if you love him with all your heart, you will have found the real Yahuwah. Not that there's another, but we know that counterfeits exist. And will be monogamous. That's what 2 Corinthians 11:2, a chaste virgin, one husband, to Messiah, Yahushua, to Jesus Christ. Will be monogamous inside monotheism, therefore he won't worship the beast. That's what the first characteristic is all about. Let's check the second one out. Inside the second commandment characteristics, inside the second commandment, Yahuwah says he is jealous. What makes someone jealous? Well, flirting is a cousin to cheating. First you flirt, which is cheating in the heart. Then you cheat physically. So he's jealous, even when it first starts. We're told not to worship idols and also not to serve them. What is idolatry? Is it just some statue? It can mean worship of graven images. Yes, a golden calf. We'll get into that in a minute. Relating to the likeness of Yahuwah or of false gods. It can also be excessive or blind adoration, reverence, devotion. Idolatry, and this is a textbook characteristic of idolatry, can be a mere image or semblance of something visible, but without substance, as a phantom. Idolatry can be a figment of the mind, fantasy, or a false conception or notion, fallacy, right? This is distorting, disfiguring an image. How do we know that the common image that everyone sees, this icon of Jesus that everyone looks at, how do we know that that's actually what Jesus looks like when we don't have an accurate description in the scriptures? Anyways, and there's some teaching on that too, but we can get into that another time. Idolatry can be a semblance of something visible without substance of the as a phantom, without substance. Idolatry can be a figment of the mind, fantasy, or a false conception or notion of fallacy. Idolatry can also be patriotism and take on the form of a nation, especially a prideful and boastful nation. You can be idolatrous with a nation. What else? A car can be an idol, a cell phone, a television, a workout, a diet, a religion. You can be in idolatry in a religion. You can idolize your religion that you're in. Oh, I'm a Baptist, or I'm a Jehovah's Witness, or I'm a Catholic. Yeah? Show me where it says Baptist, Jehovah's Witness, Catholic, Protestant, Lutheran in the scriptures. Where does it say it in the scriptures? Doesn't. In fact, in Corinthians, let me find it here real quick. Chapter 1, verse 12. Well, we'll go 111b, that there are strifes among you. What I mean is this, that each one of you says, I am of Shaul, I am of Paul, or I am of Apollos, or I am of Peter, Kepha, or I am of Messiah, I am of Christ. What's he say after this? Has the body of Messiah been divided? Has the Messiah been divided? Was Paul impaled? Was Paul crucified for you? Or were you baptized in the name of Paul? Were you baptized in the name of Jehovah's Witnesses? Were you baptized in the name of Catholic? Were you baptized in the name of Protestant? Were you baptized in the name of Messianic? Were you baptized in the name of Hebrew roots? Were you baptized in what? In whatever religion? Are you so idolizing your religion that you can't even get into what the word says? Religion, these institutions are man-made. There are some people that have got some good information. But then some people get so idolatrous with their false religion that they're in, even if it's a little piece of false, it's still false. Saying, oh, we have the truth, we are the truth, when they keep changing the truth. That's idolatry. A religion can be idolatry. A way of thinking we hold on to, a job, a spouse, children, a friend, or even oneself. Anthony LaVey, Satanist, founder of modern day Satanism, says that Satanism is not worshiping Satan per se, it's worshiping yourself. So if you worship yourself as a god, then you're in idolatry too, with yourself. Idolatry before, and you're breaking the second commandment. You're worshiping yourself as an idol. A golden calf also. We can get into that in a minute. Idolatry is basically something that takes away that which is created. And takes it away from the worship of Yahuwah. That's what the 144,000 teach. Revelation chapter 14, 6 and 7. That message goes into all nation, tribes, peoples, and tongues. Verse 7, so basically what it says is to worship the Creator, not the creation. Idolatry, and then in verse 8, Babylon the Great falls. So just before Babylon the Great falls, world's false religions, Babylon the Great is more than just that, but world's false religions. And before Babylon the Great falls, the 144,000 teaching message goes into all nations, tribes, peoples, and tongues, telling them to stop worshiping their creation, their religion, and to start worshiping the Creator. And that is why their mouth is no guile. There's no lie in their mouth. They speak pure truth. They're anointed members. We get into that in a minute. I have another teaching. I got a lot on the 144,000. Are we building up our own kingdom? Pretending it's for Yahuwah? Are we building up our own financial gain? Are we building up this or building up that for ourselves? Are we worshiping and serving it? The beast is carnal, right? It's trying to get us to focus on carnal things, right? Yahuwah is a spirit and wants us to worship in spirit and truth, in ruach and ameth. John 4, 20 through 24. Is our soul set on things of the flesh? There is nothing wrong with material items allowed within Torah. There is nothing wrong with material items allowed within the law. However, when we're out of balance and we have our priorities skewed, we're not doing the mission we're supposed to be doing, teaching them, impressing them upon our children, talking about about his words when we're in our house and when we're out in the world, witnessing, proselytizing, right? Sharing the message. If we're not doing this, then it's out of balance. To he who much is given, much is required. So why are we here? Sin entered into the world, and we're given instruction, Torah, on how to overcome it. Messiah showed us what perfect righteousness is, and his atoning sacrifice has opened up the door for us to walk even as he walked into everlasting life. 1 John 2:6, we need to walk even as he walked. He's perfect. So we need to walk, us present tense, as he walked, him past tense. I tell people, Jesus is perfect. And they're like, yeah, Jesus is perfect. And then, so we need to walk as Jesus walked, right? Yeah. Walk as Jesus walked. Oh, okay. Jesus walked in the law. He walked in Torah. Oh, yeah. But the law's been done away with. Oh, okay. So you don't have to walk in the law anymore. Oh, all right. So did John 2:6 say we need to walk even as he walked, except as he walked, but don't walk as he walked? Confusing, right? That's Babel. Babel means confused. That's Babel, right? Yeah, this is Babel for sure. So what the Romans, not Roman as a person, the Roman mindset is saying is walk as Jesus walked, except for the law, but then don't walk as Jesus walked. Hebrews 13:8. Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Malachi 3:6a, I am Yahuwah, I do not change. James chapter 1:17, there is no change in the turning of lights. There's no change. Same walk, same 4 commandments, well, same 10 commandments, same first and second greatest commandment. Love our neighbor as yourself, right? The sin that we're here is to help love our neighbor as ourselves, to help correct it. We have the keys to how to get sin out of the bondage of sin, to be freed from sin. And we need to share it with our brothers and sisters and neighbors who are not our brothers and sisters worldwide. If we have these keys and we don't share them, maybe we don't have the keys. Maybe we're deceiving ourselves. By our fruits you shall know them. What is loving your neighbor as yourself? To him who lays his life down for, a brother or a neighbor, that is ultimate love. The beast, whether in statue form as an ideal or as a system, is a representation of the beast itself. If we love him with all our soul, we won't give worship or adoration to any type of idol, or ones that we think represent God, Elohim, a religion. Idolatry can form as an ideal, as a ideology, or as a system and be an image representation of the beast itself. For rebellion, wow, this is so important. For rebellion is as the sin of divination, and stubbornness is as wickedness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahuwah, the word of the Lord, he also does reject you as king, sovereign. 1 Samuel 15:23. Wow. So rebellion is as witchcraft or divination, and stubbornness is wickedness and idolatry. Are you being stubborn? Are you being stubborn? Someone's giving you information from the word, from scriptures, but you're adhering to your preformed cookie cutter religion that tells you exactly what to think, but not how to think. And someone's showing you something in the scriptures and you're being stubborn about it, even though it's right there. That's wickedness, according to the scriptures, and idolatry. And it's also rebellious, and that's witchcraft. From there you shall seek Yahuwah your Elohim, the Lord your God, and shall find when you search for him with all your heart and all your soul. So if you love him with all your soul, you won't give worship and adoration to the image, the idol of the beast. Yeah, so let's just kind of get ready to close off here. I wanted to share one thing about golden calves. Golden calves exist right now. What was the first golden calf? Aaron was like, well, we put all this gold in this thing, and this calf just popped out. This calf just popped out. Yeah, right. Right. So, hang on a second. So yeah, so this calf just popped out. Sure. They fabricated something and then made it. And then he said, what? Tomorrow is the feast to the Lord, the feast to Yahuwah. New feast day. Let's check out 1 Kings chapter 12. And let's look in verse 25 through 33. One second while I get us there here. Let's do the beach, huh? You want to go to the beach with me? Quick backstory. I want to be real quick here. The kingdom was split. Solomon did a lot of bad stuff. 1 Kings 11, 1 through 7, the whole chapter 2. But he married strange women. It's not necessarily marrying a strange woman, but that were worshiping false Elohim. And then he brought false Elohim. It corrupted his heart. So the kingdom got split. His son, Rehoboam, and Jeroboam, it got split with Rehoboam, got 2-tribe kingdom, and Jeroboam, 10-tribe kingdom. And then here's Jeroboam's sin. What did he do? It says Jeroboam. Remember, ISR. There is no J in Hebrew, so it's only a Y. So Jeroboam built Shechem in the mountains of Ephraim, 10-tribe kingdom seat. And then he says what? Now the kingdom shall return to the house of David. If these people do sacrifice, that word there is found there is zabach. If these people to do sacrifice in the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem, Deuteronomy 16:16, 3 times a year. They're supposed to assemble in Jerusalem. So he's concerned that they're going to kill him and go back to Rehoboam. So what did he do? He made two calves of gold. But what does that represent? He says, see your Elohim, that word found there is Elohim, false gods. O Yasharal, O Israel, who brought you up from the land. And then he set one in Bethel and then the other in Dan. Bethel, house of God, judgment. Dan means judgment. Bethel, house of God, house of Elohim. And then what did he do? He performed a chag, a festival on the 15th day of the 8th new moon, he mimicked. He counterfeited one like the festival in Yehuda on the 7th month on the 15th day. And then sacrificed to the golden calves. And then he did it. What? Where does it say that he did it? Here it is. And he did it as he devised in his own heart. Well, you can't see that. Let me kind of go here. And he did it as he's devised in his own heart. He devised it in his own heart, made a false religion in his own heart. That's what they do. That's what Babylon the Great does. That's what the second commandment and the first commandment, Babylon the Great, have attacked that. They have taken truth, the Torah, the word, the scriptures, the Besorah HaMalkut, the Brit Chadashah, the Navim, the prophets, and they build these religious houses on top of them, these religious institutions, these golden calves that people worship in idolatry as though it is the image of the Most High. And then they get upset when you try to show them that it's incorrect in the word, that the doctrine they're being taught is incorrect. It's sad. So let's close here. We have our jar of pearls here. What pearl do we have today in our closing? I know which one. 1 Kings 12:29. We covered this already. And he set one up in Bethel and the other he put in Dan. Why is the 144,000? When you look in Revelation chapter 7, verses 4 through 8. 8, yeah, I think it's 8. Yeah. Why the 12 tribes that are listed are Dan and Ephraim not there? Why is Joseph and Manasseh in its place? Ephraim, doubly fruitful or double ash heap. Dan, judgment. Well, where is the doubly fruitful ash heap judgment? And why aren't Dan and Ephraim in the 144,000? And is that connected with 1 Kings chapter 12:29? Well, there's our little pearl. I forgot to do it here, because be careful. You don't want to cast pearls before swine. Pigs and the dogs of the world might trample upon it. So remember, guard your heart, guard your soul, guard Torah, or pay the toll.